Welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. Bangladesh is voting in its 12th parliamentary elections, which Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her Awami League is expected to win. Principal opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, is boycotting the polls. Voter turnout has reportedly been low so far. Over 100 foreign observers are present at different polling booths across the country as we speak. The observers are inspecting polling stations to make sure that there are no cases of vote rigging, ballot stuffing and other electoral malpractices. A 3-member delegation from the Election Commission of India is also among the foreign observers in Dhaka at the moment. The United Nations says it is also monitoring the elections closely. Now, Sheikh Hasina voted shortly after the ballots opened at Dhaka City College polling centre. Her daughter, Saima Wazed, also accompanied her. Well-known Bangladeshi actor Firdaus Ahmed is contesting the polls on Awami League ticket from the seat. In the run-up to the polls, the Sheikh Hasina government has come under criticism for not stepping down to let a neutral caretaker government oversee the polls. Hasina and her Awami League party maintains that free and fair polls can be conducted in the country under the existing government and that there is no need for a caretaker government. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has given a call for non-cooperation, urging people to boycott the elections.
I just want to ask you, credibility, I have to prove credibility, right? To whom? To whom? A terrorist party? A terrorist organization? No. I have my accountability to people, to the people. Whether people accepted it or not, whether they have accepted this election or not, that is important. That is important to me. So, I don't care.
33 BNP leaders have defied the party's boycott stance by contesting the polls as independents. 17 sitting Awami League lawmakers are contesting the polls as independents. The independents are also challenging 15 cabinet ministers on their respective seats. More than 400 independents are in the race this time. Meanwhile, several reports of violence have started to emerge from different parts of the country. BNP supported clashed with police in Chattogram region, where the security forces resorted to firing shotguns. A crude bomb was thrown inside a polling station in Jessore, which injured 3 people. A local Awami League leader in Munshiganj was found dead with stab wounds near a polling centre in Munshiganj. And voting was cancelled at a polling centre in Narsingi, this over allegations of ballot stuffing. Now, a passenger train was set on fire, killing at least 4 people over the weekend. At least 14 polling centres and 2 schools in 10 districts were set on fire between Friday evening and early on Saturday. Troops have fanned out across Bangladesh to maintain peace, while nearly 800,000 police, paramilitary and police auxiliaries will be guarding polling booths throughout the day. Around 25,000 opposition cadres, including the BNP's entire local leadership, were arrested in the ensuing crackdown. The government puts the figure at 11,000. About 120 million voters are choosing from nearly 2,000 candidates for the 300th directly elected parliamentary seats. Now, to get more details on this, we are being joined by Riaz Ahmad, who is the executive editor at Dhaka Tribune, live from Dhaka. Welcome to the broadcast, sir. Now, elections in Bangladesh are generally marred with violence. Now, in the latest, a local Awami League leader was found dead with stab wounds near a polling centre this morning. How do you see the polls panning out, given the scale of arson and violence in Bangladesh?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here this morning. Now afternoon almost, actually. So the election has halfway through by now, and the ballot started at 8 a.m. in the morning. So one aspect of this election is it is widely anticipated that it's going to be a low turnout voting. But of course, Bangladesh election rules does not made any parameter for that how many percentage of voters have to turn up. But why this is so is basically because of two different type of calls by the two sides in Bangladesh's perennial political divide. One calling upon the voters to come in their good numbers and join the election and exercise their franchise, while, as you mentioned already, the BNP, one of the largest political party and the main opposition, which has governed this country in the past for several times also, they boycotted this election and also called upon the voters not to go for this election, which they consider a farcical one. And people in this country, particularly 170 million people, and 119 million of them are voters, eligible voters, and they are caught basically in the middle of a political crossfire where the two main political parties of the country, Awami League and BNP, are giving call for two different causes. One for exercising votes, the other for not to go to the polling centers. And as you rightly mentioned, in the run up to today's election, over the last 2 months or so, there has been many hartal calls, the general strike, and also road blockades and things like that. And during those particular opposition called programs, there were incidents of arsons, there were incidents of actually arsons in train, buses, and public transport and things like that. That actually also have some impact in the voters' mind. There is a certain degree of fear factors there. Though, as you also mentioned, that 800,000 law enforcing agency members composed of different forces that also include Bangladesh Armed Forces and police and BGB, the Border Patrol team, and things like that. So, that kind of preparations are there. But there is another important factor. I will conclude here by saying that factor. That is, when voters will go to a polling center, they will be naturally looking for some options to choose from. This is one election where there is a very little option for a voter to choose from, because largely it is Awami League official nominees versus they are pitting their official against some of the independents, and a large number of independent candidates who again are also the local leaders of the ruling of.
Absolutely, Raz. Now, how do you assess the role of over 100 foreign observers who are present at different polling booths across the country?
Yeah, that's very important, because always the poll observers, when we see an election being held as citizen of that country, we are in the middle of the things already, and we also take certain things for granted. Some aspects of it, our political, cultural aspects are there, and things like that. So when someone from abroad come as part of different poll observer mission, and also the local poll observers, they play a very vital role. And so far, since this morning, I have heard some of them speaking to the media, including our news reporters also, that they found that, of course, they cannot go all 42,000 voting centers, but the number of voting centers, some of the polling booths that they visited, they found some of the features they mentioned about is it was largely peaceful, but with very low turnout of voters.
Yes.
And they think that it's too early to say, it's too early to comment at this point of time that what exactly manner this election is going to shape up ultimately. They will keep observing for next few hours as well.
Yes, absolutely. And as you've mentioned, while it is still early in the day, experts do predict that the voter turnout is likely to remain low due to those contrasting calls from the ruling and opposition parties.
Exactly, due to the contrasting calls, and also, right at the moment, I can offer you an early indication about the percentage, because the Election Commission just half an hour ago, they said that so far, I mean, it will be, you can take it for 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. or 11:30, the first, if not the first half of the whole election day voting, but at least first 3 hours or so, the percentage nationwide was a little over 8%. 8. So, and but many candidates and their supporters are expecting in different polling booths that as the day progresses, this can be, the voter turnout can be higher, but still, I don't know what percentage ultimately it will. Definitely, it's going to be one of the lowest in the country's history of election.
Very interesting. Riaz, thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast and your valued insights.
Welcome.